Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Oh, man. Sore, boy. God damn it. Should have took my fat ass and walked this morning. I didn't. I sat there and ate oatmeal with raisins, peanut butter, and all kind of shit. Tastes good anyway. Pay-per-view numbers down under the mark for Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora. Who's at fault? Look, I don't know, but the bottom line is the reported numbers aren't quite where I would think anybody would like them to be. Supposedly, they performed, and this is globally, around 20,000 in pay-per-view sales. That's not good. But at the same time, it's just a struggle with fire sticks and people who get an opportunity to watch the fight without paying. Now, in this day and age, you would figure by now that they would have to figure out another way to make sure these fighters are getting the kind of money that they're negotiating. I know pay-per-view weighs heavily into it. But goddamn, the pay-per-view numbers are just not getting there. You know what I'm saying? But there's an article out here that I came across and I was reading. And I'm going to kind of go over it and kind of fill in the gaps on some things. So it just starts off by talking about the fight and how it was a brutal display of boxing between Sebastian Fundora and Tszyu. How they were both bloodied, which we all know that, and they say the judges were divided, which we're not surprised at that. I'm not surprised that they gave Fundora the win. It is what it is. When you think about Fundora and his sister both being champions, making history, and Fundora being the PBC fighter and picking up the WBC and WBO belts, and how that would be a great fight for him to go into a scrap with Earl Spence, leave Terrence Crawford kind of in the breeze, and leave Tszyu kind of in the breeze as well, right? Right now, we don't know what's going on. But although the fight was interesting, what was even more interesting was the discussions about how disappointing the pay-per-view performance was. Now, of course, Leonard Ellaby always comes to the defense of the PBC, and you can't say nothing about Mayweather because that's like somebody talking bad about Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall being in the room. He's going to come to the defense of Eddie Murphy, just like Ellaby's going to come to the defense of Mayweather and PBC. But what he did is he called it a stupid thing to say to suggest that there were poor pay-per-view numbers for the event. Now, of course, Rick Glacier always has something to say. A lot of people don't believe that Rick Glacier has an inside source. They feel Rick Glacier is, full of shit. I'll tell you that I don't know how truthful Rick Glacier is on some things, but he does seem to get some information. All right, so I think even they realize that Rick Glacier is getting some information. Now, if he's getting half-ass information, maybe so, but he's getting information. But what Rick Glacier ended up saying, he said, it seems as if Amazon and PBC are hiding the numbers, which in reality it's so low, it's an embarrassment. And the same thing about Regis Prograis and Devin Haney. They said that pay-per-view numbers for Tszyu and Fundora were even lower than Devin Haney and Regis Prograis, who reportedly had extremely low numbers, and where Regis Prograis went on record and said he was trying to tap dance, but he ended up saying he didn't get no money from the damn back end of that fight with Devin Haney and himself. So I just think he got his guarantee, and there was no upside because the pay-per-view numbers were so low that promoters had to use, Eddie Hearn probably had to use that shit to try to break even, you know what I'm saying? Which we probably lost money on it. But anyway, what it says here, not even 5% of what he wrote is true. You got to admire this guy's determination. Then Ellaby chimed in and said, anyone who entertains anything this imbecile says has to be stupid. Now, Eddie Hearn talked about the financial outcome of Tszyu Fundora. Now, we know Eddie Hearn's outspoken. He's a promoter from Matchroom. And he claimed the fight fell short of 20,000 pay-per-view sales, which, again, that's less than half of what Haney and Prograis did. Now, when you take a look at this, you got to understand, you got Matchroom, you got Top Rank, you got PBC. Everyone has an opinion. No one wants to seem to want to support each other. But what I'll say is when it comes to Tim Tszyu, although the pay-per-view sales here for him and Fundora didn't do what they were hoping, that has nothing to do with Tim Tszyu if he was to have a fight back home and bring a guy like Fundora out there for the rematch, or for Tim Tszyu to fight somebody like Terrence Crawford or any big name. You know, Tim Tszyu had the opportunity to fight a 3-fight deal to make over $30 million, $10 million or so a piece, if he would have beat Fundora. But he should have beat him. He should have probably just set his pride aside and said, you know what, I can't see it. Once round 4 happened, say, I can't see it not come up for round 5. But he didn't. But had he retained those belts, Tim Tszyu would have been, and I think it's still on the table, he would have gotten paid some serious money. He would have had to sign a 3-fight deal and would have made some serious money. So when people say, yeah, in Australia they have the stadiums, the live gates will do well, but there's really no money in Australia to pay these fighters the kind of money they want. Well, if they can find $30 million to give Tim Tszyu across 3 fights, I'm sure they can find that kind of money to give to a big name fighter to come out there and challenge Tim Tszyu. So I understand the argument, but I tend to believe that they can shake something loose for an event of that magnitude. But that being said, the pay-per-view numbers seem to be down under the mark. Doesn't seem to be much finger pointing going on. I think everybody knows trying to do this pay-per-view event on Amazon Prime, and just Keith Thurman falling out. And I think with Keith Thurman, he probably would have had more pay-per-view sales. I still don't think they would have got over 50,000 because it's just a date and time, man, that we're in. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But that being said, we'll see what happens, man. They got another big event coming up, and I think the event, it should do well. But again, I personally don't think it matters who you're putting on these pay-per-view events. I just think people every day, more and more people learn about the Fire Stick, learn about these other methods of watching events free. And I think as more people learn about it, the more people buy it, the more we're going to see these pay-per-view numbers look atrocious. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? That being said, y'all keep cool. Y'all in the breeze.